offensive genius, you have a lot of money, you're taking all of these like short-term wins to acquire a lot of talent, probably sacrificing culture and fundamentals. And then let's see how it plays out. Okay. All right. Welcome, guys. Welcome to another episode of Gator Theory Podcast. It's Huang and Trevor again. And first, let's talk about the portal, right? So it's closed, kind of. I think there's enough people that already explained it, so we'll do a real quick, like 10-second version. So basically, people can't enter the portal anymore. But if you had declared before for the portal, and sometimes the paperwork only would go through until like Tuesday, because Monday's Martin Luther King Day, there could still be some surprise additions. We don't think any big names are in there, but we just don't know, right? So for all intents and purposes, portal movement is mostly done. You might have like some like crazy things, like Darian Mensa over there, the quarterback at Duke, right? He still might go to Miami for like 10 mil total. We don't know. But Trevor, what are some of your thoughts on the portal so far? Just thoughts, observations, not so much the Gators, but just like what you noticed.
I noticed this year, I think this is the biggest portal year we've ever had, right? I think I read on three over 10,000 people entered the portal. And I think as of yesterday, there was still over 3,000 in the portal that hadn't found a new team yet. I
Yeah,
think,
it's disgusting.
and I don't know if this is, yeah, I don't know if this is the consequence of NIL or even like the SIG showing everyone that the portal is kind of how it almost seems like there's a new model emerging of building teams through the portal. And it seems like a lot of guys are trying to take advantage of that and find a home in a new university that's going to pay them more. But I mean, almost it is disgusting, right? Like how many dudes are just hopping in the portal every year. Um, I really over 10,000 kids is crazy. Like there's only over a little over 1,000 dudes in the NFL total. We got 10 times that in the portal looking for a team to go join. So I think it's disgusting, but it's the sport, and until someone does something about it, this is what we're going to be.
Yeah, so I think it's a function of one main thing. Okay. And the main thing is that someone could transfer every year, essentially. Okay. So, for
Mm.
example, if you can't transfer until you've been at a place for 2 years, if you're like halfway through your first year, there's no leverage there for you to try to go and hold your team hostage, right? So one of the rumors last year was Tennessee's of Nico, right, who's in UCLA now. Apparently, before the playoffs, when they just got stumped by Ohio State, he went, or him and his dad, or whatever, right, his posse went over to Heupel and tried to actually renegotiate their contract before the playoff game to try to get more money, guaranteed more money, right? And the only reason why they could do that is because okay, the season's over. There's just one more game potentially, and I can leave after this, right? If you contrast that with pro sports, right? Even if you're on like a 1 year contract where it's up, you literally just can't do that until the season is over. Because if you
Mhm.
do that, no one else will ever touch you, like touch you, so to speak. No one will ever sign you, right? But right now in the college football, it's like the Wild West, and there's just all kinds of nonsense going on. For me, here's where I draw the line. Okay, if the NCAA or whoever's in charge now is going to make the rule where okay, essentially everyone's a free agent, it's 1 year contracts. If that's a rule, I'm okay with. Actually, wait, let me see what's going on with this music. I'm okay with people jumping into the portal and leaving. Okay, like this whole idea. Oh, by the way, whenever people are like, "Oh, that's tampering," I literally feel so cringe. Like everyone's tampering. We all know this.
Yeah.
Everyone knows this. If you're actually not quote unquote tampering, you're doing it wrong, right? So like, don't sit here on your high horse and like complain about someone tampering or like insinuate it. It's almost like, look at that person jaywalk. And it's like, dude, shut up. Everyone's doing it. Okay, we all know someone's doing it. Like, if you're not doing it, you're actually doing it wrong, right? Because by the time the portal's open, all of this stuff is in place. Like everyone, there's been so much talk through the back channels, agents, and everything. Where I draw the line, and it starts just feeling like wrong, is if someone has already committed to staying, right? They commit, especially if they sign something, and then you have a few cases now where, who knows if it's true, right? Like Prince Will. So I don't think it's Princely Umami Allen. I think it's like cousin or something. It's not his brother, but he actually signed a contract with Ole Miss. It was announced, and then the rumor is that Lane is like calling him right before the portal closes and like offering him a lot more money for him to back out of his contract and then jump back in the portal. Right. That's where I like to see teams, hold their ground or stand their ground, right? Like so, Washington did it with Desmond. What was his name? Williams. Desmond with it, the quarterback
Williams.
at
Yeah.
Washington. I would hope Ole Miss does this with Prince Will, and then Duke does this with Mensa, right? Like if you announce and you sign something, no, you don't get to just sign and then someone comes last minute to try to come over the top. You literally just back out of your word with no consequence. Like not only your word, but like you legally sign something, right? And that's probably the
Yeah.
biggest thing I noticed. That's where like it crosses the line. So like Miami obviously is doing this with Mensa, and then LSU probably is doing this with a bunch of players, right? It's like it's really really scummy. Like if you're a fan of the team, I get it, right? Like feels good to just be like this mafia boss, if you will, that just comes in and just pulls this kind of like Don Corleone stuff, right? But you have to think about it, right? What kind of players are you getting that are willing to give their word, sign something, and then someone offers, say, 30, 40, or maybe Mensa's case, like twice, like 200% more. And you're just like, nope, actually, you can't really hold me to it, like, and just back out. And then, like, if that player is willing
Mhm.
to go over to a new team, uh, how do the other players feel about that? Uh, can that player lead when times get tough? Is there is there any culture? Is there anything there to hold the team together? We don't know, right? Right? We don't know because this is still really new. But I tend to think football is a team sport. You could have all the individual talent. There is the degree of camaraderie, teamwork. I just don't know how you could build a team when like that's the type of players you're actually
Yeah.
pulling, right? So that's kind of like the thoughts I've had for this. Is I think it's really this year especially it's really exposing uh probably like the grimiest stuff that you can get, right? Where
Yeah.
okay, like before it was a shocker, like okay, it's like 1 year free agent over and over and over of 1 year free agency, and then people were doing whatever. And now it's like you can actually sign your contract and then back out after you sign it, right? And then also, I would hope teams going forward. So, for example, if I'm trying to retain my players, right, you you would want to make sure you have it in writing. So, if I want to retain Miles Grant, right, not only does he give the verbal, and then we sign something, but then you also want language in there where once you sign, you can't pull the stuff where like 2 hours before the portal closes, you decide you're going to put your name in the portal. And then because now let's just say there's a scarcity at your position, and then you could just leverage for a lot more money, right? And if you
Mhm.
don't commit to that, then for all intents and purposes, you're not signed. Like if I'm John Summerall, if I'm trying to retain this player and they're telling me they're going to sign, but they're not willing to put their ink to paper on this contract and then really sign something where they can't back out of it last minute, are they really signed? Because there's enough examples now where even players that signed are still pulling this nonsense, right?
Just
So
leaving. Yeah.
yeah, so I guess we'll see. I think also the portal really really overcorrected, right? So kind of like heading into the 2025 season, uh, and it's not just the Gators. It's the narrative is okay. You could do the portal, but it's a team of mercenaries, right? But if you actually have a team of mostly like your recruits or players that you've had for a year or longer, and then you're just supplementing the portal, that's the way to go. And somewhere along the way, it could be X, it could be YouTube. There's this narrative that's out there now that the teams that have the highest portal class rankings are just the ones that make the playoffs and winning. And a lot of people are well, not a lot more people are jumping on that bandwagon where it's just like your portal ranking is actually what determines how well you're going to do another
Mhm.
season, right? Whereas I still think ideally you do a good eval, you're smart with your money allocation, and then you're only probably filling at most 20% your team with a portal, right? Positions in need that you identify that whether you missed on an eval or someone got hurt or someone's leaving and then you're essentially like you're losing one, you're filling one. Maybe, this 5-star you're counting on, we're not going to name names. Uh, it's just not going to pan out, right? So rather than count on that, right, you can let them go, and then you can maybe fill that spot with a high upside player that you think can contribute now, but also could grow in the program. I don't think having a bunch of portal players every year is a winning formula. It's just not. There's just way
Mhm.
too much turnover. There's not even like a culture to build on. You can't just build a new culture with a new team every year. But also like these kind of players that are doing this stuff for like a quick payday, but essentially it's like kind of like very scummy. I just don't see how having a team with these kind of players and then your culture being built upon that is going to work out.
Yeah, I think Florida State has kind of been the case study of this, right? You
Yeah,
go undefeated with a team
yeah,
of well, not even mercenaries. I think that
yeah,
team still had some actual program
yeah,
guys on it, but
yeah,
you fill Jordan Travis, like that's a big shoe to fill, and you bring in 30, 40 guys out of the portal, and if you don't hit on all of them, you're screwed, and they lose
yeah,
10 games and then
yeah,
what 7 games, and I think you hit you're it's a hammer in search of a nail, and sometimes you hit a nail, and sometimes you hit a baby.
yeah,
You miss out on all your
yeah,
guys, and
yeah,
then you lose 10 games.
yeah, yeah. Right. Like it's before we used to make fun of Mike Norvell for just essentially sucking at recruiting and then trying to
Mhm.
reload every year in the portal. And now, like, if you watch, like, not just Gator fans, almost like fans everywhere, because I'm a nerd, right? I follow kind of like the pulse of a lot of fan bases, and they just expect their teams to just be very competitive in the portal and spend all this money. But like, if you did a good job of retaining your roster, you might only need like 5 or 6 players, right? Maybe 10.
Mhm.
Like this idea that you need 20 every year just to be successful, one, it's unproven, but like if you even think through it logically, there's a lot of holes in that assumption. So I think it's just too new right now. So like it's a flavor of the year, right? Like last year it was retention and growing through high school recruiting, and this year it seems to be, like be like Lane, the portal king, and that's actually the way to go, right? So there's still a season, there's still actual football to be played, right? Right now we're just seeing these like transfer portal rankings. We have to actually see what happens once we get on the field, right? Anything else?
Mhm. Um, no, I think I mean, I would love to see a world where the portal isn't like this. Obviously, the 1 year sitting rule, I would love to
Yeah,
see guys lose eligibility over transferring. Maybe you get like one free, but I don't know. There's a lot of super rich people that can have meetings and discuss how to fix this, or maybe for the benefit of the sport, this is what they think is the best. I'm just a fan, but it's disgusting to
yeah,
see 10,000 dudes in the portal. Yeah.
yeah. Again, right? I have to like think this through more. I think if you do 2 years, it would really, really change and probably make it for the better for a lot of this stuff. But then also, one of the things I think is very hypocritical is we talked about this, I think, in our very first podcast. Like, if you're a coach, there's nothing that holds you to a school, right, for
Mhm.
more than a
Yeah.
year. And if the coaching culture is to always try to move up, like get to a better position, move from a position coach to the OC, smaller school at a smaller conference to a bigger school, that culture is there in the coaching world, right? Like I don't
Mhm.
know. So I don't know the right answer. Hopefully, there's people that are a lot smarter that come up with it. But the market would always correct, right? Like like people will always figure out what's the best way to build a team. I think being very scummy isn't the best long term approach, right? It's like you might be able to cheat and get some short, like seem like you're getting ahead short term, but you're wrecking your foundation in the process, and that's just my opinion, right? But I think we need more time for that to play out. All
Mhm.
right, let's actually go to topic number 2. All right, so we're going to go over what we think the overall grade for Florida is at the end, and how we actually compare to some other schools. But right now, if you had to give your top 3 portal additions for the Gators, you have 3 players you would pick. We have 27 on here. I didn't even
Mhm.
like see some of these, but we apparently brought in 2 kickers, 2 punters, and 2 long snappers, right?
Yeah.
A kicker and a punter from Tulane, which actually is the only Tulane player that we took. We didn't take any offensive or defensive players from Tulane, which is very interesting. I am going to contrast that with, say, like Auburn, which brought in essentially it's a Auburn Bulls at this point, right? They brought in we took a lot of Georgia Tech players, but we actually didn't
Yeah.
take any Tulane players. So you have your three favorites.
Yeah, I think obviously Eric Singleton
Okay.
is a home run pick out of the portal. I think
Yeah.
in some ways he was what Trey Wilson was promised to be. I think he's had a lot better production. I think
Yeah.
he'll kind of be a slot guy for us. I mean, it's just a home run there. And
Yeah.
when I saw him hit the portal and I saw us in the mix for him, it was like, man, I would love to have that. So clear number one for me, best get out of the portal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
I
agree. Like you
also
can't you like
yeah,
that's he's if he's not one, he's two. Okay. Well, before you go further, you can't count Aaron Philo.
I'm not,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I feel like he would have to be top three, but yeah, it's obvious. So no Philo. You have to
Yeah.
pick two others.
I on the D I wanted to pick one on each side of the ball at least. So for defense, I just can't get over the measurables on Oye Badejo.
Yeah.
Like he's huge, and you watch the film, he's a monster out there. And I think for his size, he moves pretty quick. And I think, especially in the SEC, there's a lot of big linemen, and I think he'll fit right in.
Okay.
I wonder about his speed translating to the next level, but I think at least on the film in Jacksonville State, he looks pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then I think too, this is kind of a bleeding over into my underrated, but I think
So
London
you're
Montgomery.
underrated and top three. Top three.
No, 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 no.
I don't know this whole
Emmanuel is
list.
top three. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Emmanuel
But
and Eric Singleton, but this third
yeah,
guy, London Montgomery, you're gonna pick in your top three.
I think no. Let me clarify that.
Okay,
No,
okay, okay.
I for a third player, I'm gonna kind of be lame here and just say either DJ Coleman or Cam Dooley, whichever one starts opposite of Bryce Thornton. I think they're both poised to have a good season out there. I mean, it can't be worse than a certain number 14 out there. But
Okay,
I think
but
out of the two, Coleman probably has a better chance to start.
okay, okay. So for you, it's Coleman, uh, Singleton, and
Oh
Oyebadejo.
yeah, Badejo.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. For me, it's Singleton. I mean, you can make a case he will actually be our best receiver, right? He's had more production than Vernell Brown
Mhm.
and Dallas, uh, and he's done it consistently. Even like in a down year in Auburn, he still had what like 560 yards last year, just being a guy. They essentially used him like how we used Trey this last season. It was just running a bunch of
Yeah.
jet sweeps and throwing a bunch of screens and like underneath stuff to him, right? And he actually is a good vertical threat. So I think it's it's I'll be shocked, right? Because he's thrived already in Buster Faulkner's system. He has production. He has an athletic profile. He's an upperclassman. Like just unless he somehow gets to Florida and to start dating the wrong girl or something that just gets into his head.
Yeah.
Like it's just like he's as close as a can't miss as you can get out of the portal, right? May not be just a superstar, but he'll be a very productive player. Number two for me, I'm going to take Harrison Moore, the center slash guard out of Georgia Tech. His PFF grade is really good. He's already shown he could be very
Mhm.
productive. Brent Keys is a offensive line coach, and it's just a well coached unit. They probably not probably they actually play better than their talent or recruiting profile. His problem at Georgia Tech is that apparently he sucked at snapping. Okay, so you're a center that can't snap, then that what the heck. But he can also play guard, right? So if they can figure out the snapping, he might be our starting center. It might be Zendamelia. If not, he'll probably be a guard. But I think he's also like a very very high floor, just like a very solid good player. Like he's almost a lock to be our starter. Whether it's at center or guard, I don't know, but he's probably going to be a starter, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Number three. It starts getting like a little there isn't a clear number three for me, right? And I think I really here's a good thing about why there isn't a clear number three. I think the positions where we don't have a clear starter, for the most part, the staff didn't bring in like a clear starter. But what they
Yeah.
did bring in is multiple very intriguing players where they have the athletic profile and they're an upperclassman now, but maybe they didn't get a lot of playing time before, but they got some, and like this, they should be physically and mentally developed now to maybe like take that step forward. And maybe you just have one, that guy's not going to pan out, but when you bring in three like that, right? So like Cam Dooley, DJ Coleman got some time, like more time last year, right? But like he didn't get a lot of time his first 2 years, right? So if you bring in DJ Coleman, you bring in Cam Dooley, and then you bring in, say, I mean, we'll just use like Kanye Clark, right? The cornerback from UCLA. Uh, right? Maybe not, more likely than not. Not all three of these guys are going to hit, but they all are at least 3 years in the program. They have the athletic profile. Like when you create competition like that, you just need one to hit, and you're pretty good. And so I like that, right? So like a lot of our roster, we actually don't know who the starter is going to be, but like it's a pretty high floor just because there's enough intriguing pieces where someone's going to step up. So I'm not as confident about the third one, but if I had to pick, and this guy, spoiler alert, is also on my underrated portal acquisitions, is going to be Egan Boyer. I think he's going to be our starting left tackle. He's very, very agile. He's like 6'8". I think it was like 6'8", 240. We talked about this getting into college, and has really, really bulked up, but he just moves really well, right? And he actually started at left tackle against Clemson in the bowl game. Showed some flashes, did well in some parts, and do so well on some other parts. But
he got cooked a couple times. Yeah.
But he's also someone that I think, based on his attributes, right, like how agile he is, has very high upside. And if I'm going to take a shot at all of these competition guys that are kind of unknown, I think if he actually ends up beating out our other tackles and start, I would be really, really happy. Right, that he has to earn it, but I like a left tackle that actually can move their feet. And like Austin Barber was good, but against anyone that's actually very twitchy, can bend and move around like Edge, he just got cooked a lot. Right, like we remember, what's that guy's name at A&M? Cassius Howell. He's probably going to be a first round pick, but he destroyed Austin Barber. He just was not fast enough. And Barber, I always thought he would have been a better right tackle. We just kept playing him at left tackle under Billy. Boyer, if he starts, he might not be strong enough, but I don't think he's going to look like a statue out there, like trying to keep people on top of him. So those would be my top three.
I think, the O-line room and the safety room are both good additions overall. Like you said, we don't know who's going to start. And I think, especially in the O-line, we have a lot of guys here, and then we brought in a lot of guys. Like, I don't necessarily know which one of them is going to be the best addition, but I am confident, like you said, that whoever wins that battle, especially at left tackle, is going to be pretty solid at football, hopefully.
Yeah. All right. Let's do some underrated portal acquisitions. How many do you have? How many do you think you have?
I have one on offense and one on defense.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I was gonna say, let's keep it at like 3 or less. So we'll just like go.
Okay. I just picked one from each side of the ball. Yeah.
Okay. So your offense is London Montgomery.
So really? I think he kind of got screwed over by Evan Pryor committing first. I think Evan Pryor has 6.9 yards per carry at Cincinnati, and he was kind of heralded as our RB2 behind Jaden Ball. And I think maybe this year the production might not be too different, but London Montgomery is only a sophomore. And I watched his huddle tape because he didn't have a crazy amount of plays at ECU that are at least not on YouTube like he played, but he put up about the same amount of yards as Evan Pryor actually. But his huddle tape, he just seems like a power back. It's hard to take him down. And I think Evan Pryor is maybe more naturally a speed kind of back. He's very fast, obviously. Like
he's going to be a crowd favorite kind of what for sure. Is. Like people are going to see Pryor and just like, wow, like it's fun when that guy's on the field.
Yeah, because he's got the zoomies. Like he goes real quick. But I think as far as like a power back, like a service back, kind of like a workhorse guy that's going to get in there and get you 5 yards when you need it, I think London is definitely more that kind of guy. And I think I personally love to watch people get run over, so I maybe that's why I like him because I think he can run people over. But I just think he kind
All
of
right.
got screwed over by the fact that Pryor was kind of heralded as our RB2, and I think Montgomery really has a chance to do decent work in that room,
Yeah.
especially with all the departures.
All right. So you think maybe the Jacoby Jackson role,
I think so. Yeah,
and then Pryor is just like kind of like the speed guy that throw in a kind of change the pace maybe.
yeah,
Okay,
change of pace. Yeah,
I like that. What about defense?
defensively, ever since you talked to me about Elijah Owens,
Oh no, you're gonna steal him from me.
oh
Oh
no,
God. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
I went back and I watched that video that you talked about him, and man,
That is
it's nasty.
that is my favorite highlight reel out of, well, besides the special the special teams players we took, right? But
Mhm.
out of everyone we took, he has my favorite film. If you guys want to look
Mhm.
up his huddle film, it's actually not listed as Elijah Owens. It's Eli Owens, EOI Owens, and you'll be one of like 300 something people to have watched that film. It's good. It's good.
But he
Yeah.
smokes people, and
Yeah.
I'm not confident he's even going to get on the field. I mean, he's coming out of community college, but
Yeah.
man, if he does, he's going to be this year's, what was that, Antonio Allen Jr.,
Alfonso Allen.
Alfonso
Yeah.
Allen
Yeah.
Jr. I think
Yeah.
he's going to be our Alfonso, and I hope Alfonso plays some more this year too.
Yeah.
Man, he was
Yeah.
out for blood on the field.
I think we would be cooked. I think we'd be kind of cooked if Alfonso Allen's playing.
If
So
we will be,
so
but
here's a
yeah,
problem with Alfonso Allen. So I think, and I mean, you want to simplify football, okay? There's two things. One, can you do the right thing? Because if you can't do the right thing, occasionally you might make hero plays, but you're literally busting like that whole side of the field, right?
yeah,
If you're a safety that can't make the right play, like you're just like a whole side of the field just completely busted, you're screwed, right? A little bit less so on offense, right? Unless you're like an offense lineman or something, but you have to fundamentally at least be able to consistently do the right thing. And then from there, you could do the right thing, but are you athletic enough? Right. So Alfonso Allen, he was actually, I think he's athletic enough and he definitely hits hard enough. But maybe he was inexperienced, but he's technically an upperclassman. He was just doing the wrong things a lot of the time where he was just busting. And even when he was doing that, it still felt like it was more of a net positive than Jordan Castell. That's all I gotta say about that, right? Like,
yeah,
right? It's like, you know what? Honestly, I would take someone that's like taking someone's head off like 6 out of 10 times and then busting one or two other times, just so we have some identity, like from our on our
Mhm.
defense, especially from the safety position, right? So, I mean, maybe we have better coaches. He'll improve a lot this year. But like with all the
Yeah.
additions at safety we took, if Alfonso Allen's getting
It's not
time,
looking good. Yeah.
I think something went wrong. Okay.
But I think Elijah Owens can
Yeah.
serve
Yeah.
that role for us.
Yeah. Okay. So since you stole my guy, let me also go. I'll pick three. Okay. So Elijah Owens is definitely one. Uh, his tape looks good. Looks good. So a lot of his tape, he's actually playing straight up cornerback, and he looks fast enough. He looks. I mean, granted, this is community college. I get it, right? But he looks
Yeah.
fast enough. He looks natural, right? He actually looks fairly natural in coverage, and then just like the recognition, and then just to immediately turn around and go downhill and just hit people. And when he hits people, they either stop or they go backwards. He doesn't hit someone and then they kind of drag him forward for 4 yards like Castell, and then he made a tackle, right? And it was like amazing. I'm like, where did they find this guy? I think Brad White and Collins. I think they actually found him. Collins is our safety coach. I think they found him while they were in Kentucky. They offered him when they came over and they re-offered him, and then he committed, right? But I would love for Elijah Owens to somehow translate that over at this level and then be our starter. If he ends up even getting like backup minutes, I think people will notice him.
Mhm.
That highlight film is awesome. All right,
I'm telling you, he's poised to be this
yeah,
year's Allen Jr. He's going to do the same thing,
yeah.
right? Crowd
Well,
favorite. Yeah.
yeah, but let's like I would love for him to somehow win out. Like his film is great.
It's crazy.
Another guy I don't think is getting talked about enough. One, because we have all these players in our wide receiver room, is Bailey Stockton. All right, so I'm a nerd. So there's one thing to watch highlight clips, right, of Aaron Philo. I actually went and watched the whole game when he played NC State. So I think it was game 11 of last year. Well, no, the year before, his true freshman year. And the first half, I think Haynes King has some kind of like arm or shoulder injury. So he literally couldn't throw more than like 10, 15 yards down the field. And they would just, Haynes King would play first down. And he literally is just either maybe like throwing a screen, but mostly he just ran or handed it off. And then second and third down, Philo would come in. And Philo didn't look that good, right? It was kind of clunky. And then especially like halfway through the third quarter, but the fourth quarter, it was just all Philo. You could see he started getting confident, made some big time throws, ended up actually leading Georgia Tech on a comeback win. Mostly on that last drive, he mostly ran, which is surprising, right? Because he actually made some impressive throws in that game, but he actually used his feet mostly on the last drive. And in that game, especially when Philo was in the game, a player that really stood out was Bailey Stockton, right? I don't know what happened when King was in the game. Maybe he just didn't throw it Bailey Stockton's way. But when Philo was in the game, there was many times he would find Stockton on a third down conversion. A lot of times he's actually scrambling, making things happen. And there's just this chemistry between him and Philo that's just clearly there, right? Which is fine. Okay, fine.
Mm.
They were high school teammates, like whatever. But Stockton was also returning punts for Georgia Tech. And I don't know, I can't remember if he was returning kicks, but when he was returning punts, when he catches it and he has a little bit of spacing, takes off, there's a burst that I wasn't expecting. Like there was actually a burst, like where you're like, oh wow, okay, this guy isn't just some scrappy, fundamentally sound white guy that has chemistry with Philo. He actually has some burst to him. And so, again, this is blasphemous. I'm not saying he's going to be Ricky Pearsall, but like if I told you Stockton has a lot of the physical like characteristics of Ricky Pearsall, and he has good hands, he's smart, he has good chemistry, and you have a player like this on the team that no one's really talking about. I think he's like a very underrated player. I actually wouldn't be shocked if he actually ends up being even our second most productive player, like wide receiver. Like he
Really?
actually has way more upside than I was expecting. I didn't even bother trying to look him up that much. I just noticed him in the NC State game, and then maybe even like Gardner Webb game where Philo started. I think it was the second game of the season, 2025. And I think I noticed him too. He just actually pops off the screen, especially when Philo's in the game. So I think a lot of his numbers are kind of suppressed from playing with Haynes King. And he definitely has the physical attributes to actually be a lot better than I was expecting. All right.
So I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I think, okay, I do disagree with that.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
He's
Tell me I'm full of shit.
5'9".
Yeah.
He's 5'9", 175. I mean, you got me out there playing wide receiver.
Yeah.
How
big do you think How big do you think Antonio Brown was? How big do you think Eric Singleton is?
Eric Singleton is pretty short, but he's a little heavier, isn't he?
No, he's like I think it was like 160 coming out of high school or something, 165.
Well, high school, yeah, but I think he's, at least on film, he looks pretty juicy. But I just think that I watched I watched the NC State game like you did, and I will agree that he definitely has.
Did you watch the whole game though, or did you watch the highlights?
I watched the highlights and then the full drive at the end.
Okay.
And I think he does have a burst that you don't expect when he gets the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to let him return punts because Vernon Brown is such an excellent returner.
Yeah. Well, it's not so much that I expect him to return punts. It's that when he returned punts, you could actually see like the acceleration and the shiftiness that I wasn't expecting.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was on the depth chart fourth or fifth, but I don't think. I definitely don't think he's going to be our second most productive.
No.
I guess we'll see.
I'm saying I think he actually has the upside. Like it's like I'm not saying he's going to be. right? But like if he ends up being our like second most productive receiver at the end of the year, it wouldn't have been like there's no way. Like where did this guy come from? Like
Mhm.
he actually has the
Yeah.
tools. All right, so well, I'll reword the question. Okay, how? Let's just say yards. We'll just use like the most like simple like measure. How high? Like what place on the team for wide receivers in yards does he have to be for you to think he outperformed his expectations?
If he is honestly, if he's top three, because I
Okay.
expect the top
Okay.
three to be Vernell,
Yeah.
Dallas, and Eric
Single.
Singleton. I
Yeah.
would not be surprised.
So if he's fourth, you think he wasn't okay. Okay. So if you think if he's three,
I
okay.
expect.
Okay. I would say I'm probably like 20% confident he could be top three. I think he actually has a chance.
I
Yeah.
with injuries, I think there's definitely
I mean,
a
he could also
chance, but
get hurt
assuming
too,
everyone's
right?
healthy, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
But I just think like he okay. And then so that's two. And then I mean there's so many. If I start getting into the next tier, I think I could just talk about maybe like 10 of them. So I'll
yeah.
use Bailey Stockton and also Elijah Owens. All right. Well, I mean, this might also kind of overlap with underrated or best, but do you have like any personal favorites maybe that we didn't talk about? Or maybe you do have personal favorites, but maybe these are two more that you want to talk about that we didn't talk
I
about
mean,
already.
we talked about a lot of my favorites.
Yeah.
Like I am excited for this O line
Yeah.
to come together. Like in general, I don't really have one guy that I like, but I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of talent in there that's going to produce hopefully a dominant line,
Yeah.
not like the dominant line we had this year.
Okay. Did I spell Kalu wrong? Oops. DK
Yeah,
Kalu with
there's
T. Okay,
T's.
it's one
Yeah.
of you. Oops. Okay. All right. Well, I'll give you my two. Uh, this is just personal favorites. I think if they actually do get on the field, the fan will notice them. I like Dupre, the James Madison tight end, a lot. Uh,
Mm.
he is very. Remember Jack Pyburn, right? Before he went over to LSU and did
Yeah.
nothing. Fans notice like he set the edge. He was really good at setting the edge, and when he when he was setting the edge and he was taking on a blocker, he literally would initiate the contact and blow up running plays a lot of the time just because of how physical he is engaging
Mhm.
the blocker. Dupre is like that, but he's the blocker. He is a very, very, very physical blocker. And it's just really fun to watch him, even like line up as an H back, get out in front and just, just violently engage. And I think if he actually gets some time on the field, I think fans will notice that. And it popped off the screen when I was looking at his some of his film. On defense, I mean, this guy might actually end up being our best safety, right? So, but I really liked Cam Dooley, right? He was mostly special teams, but you can also tell he's just a very, very like physical player, and I don't know, just players that seek out contact and then like out physical the other team. I don't know. I'm just a fan. So I would
And it
say,
seems to me like we see kind of Summerall's formula for a decent safety
yeah,
or just a defensive back in general, right? Like we
yeah,
got all these guys,
yeah,
Elijah Owens, DJ
yeah,
Coleman, Cam Dooley. We're talking about how they're such like
yeah,
physical kind
yeah,
of downhill guys.
yeah.
And
He has a
so
type.
clearly that's
Yeah,
yeah, I'm excited to see
yeah.
that no matter who it is. I want to see someone come downhill like Triquez Bridges. I miss
Yeah,
that guy,
yeah. We had like
But
Bridges, we had Aaron Gates, and we have Alfonso Allen. Like every one of our like DBs are just physical. Like Javari Flowers, even like Gonza a
yeah.
little bit. Like every player just has that physical mentality. I don't know. It'll be really really fun to watch. All right. So you have two favorites that we didn't talk about?
Um if I had to pick out of all the ones we did talk about,
Yeah.
I'm falling for the hype on Eric Singleton, so he's got to be one of my favorites. And same thing like Oyebidejo. The best, my opinion on the best is also my favorite, pretty much, because that guy's a freak on the D line. Like I just can't imagine trying to hit the A gap and you got a 300-pound, 6'7" man. Just yeah, no. There's a reason I don't play football. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Listen, SCTE,
Yeah.
probably not worth it. All right. Next, let's go to overall portal grade, right? So overall portal grade, I think it's important to factor in uh, your retention too, right?
Mhm.
So I'm going to go over this in the next one, so I'll kind of give it like a sneak preview. But like if you look at On3's like transfer portal rankings, they just look at the players that transferred out, players that transferred in, right? So like you have a team like Ohio State that's like really far down, and I actually think they did a really really good job. They did lose some players they want, right? Like I think like retention wise, we actually did a better job. They have more talent than us, but they lost some players that they were really upset about. Whereas probably the only one we lost that I felt like we probably should have made more of an effort, or really just paid a little bit more to keep was Burrow. But overall portal grade, retention, and then the players we added, the players we lost. Some thoughts?
Yeah, I think, like you said, retention is a huge part of this because you have to imagine if we had, let's pretend for a second that Jaden Ball, Jaden Woods, Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, these guys were all in the portal, right?
Yeah,
If we had them on our list, like, they'd be 1 through 4 as our 4 best additions. Those guys would have all been, I don't want to say top 10, but definitely top 30 in the
yeah. And
portal
then we picked
on
out
at their position.
5 players like at that profile,
Yeah.
which I don't even think there's 5 players. Like if you gave me a list of 5 players, maybe like Cam Coleman, maybe that Deland guy. He was going to be the starting safety in Ohio State that went to LSU. I can't. I don't think. I don't think I could put together 5 players that went in the portal that I would actually rather have than just to keep the 5 we kept. Maybe
Yeah, for sure.
orange and blue goggles on, but I don't know. Yeah,
But I think, I mean, I gave it like a letter grade, like school, and
yeah,
I was kind of torn between B+ and A- because
yeah,
keeping all like we went into the offseason with that our 5 non-negotiables
yeah,
as players to keep in. We went 5 for 5, and we even Jaden Woods was in the portal. We were able to get him back out of the portal.
yeah,
I just would have liked basically the only thing I don't love about our class is we don't have a superstar lineman. I think it would have been nice to have one get that was like, yeah, Jordan Seaton or something like that,
yeah,
where it's
yeah,
like we have a guy and we know he's going to be perfect for us. And then I would have
yeah.
liked to see maybe like a tight end of the same profile, but I just don't know if there were that many tight ends of super high profile in the
I think
portal
there
this
was
year.
one. There was one. I forgot. I think his name was like first name started with D, last name with T, like Dorian Thompson or something. It was a #1 rated tight
Mhm.
end.
That's not,
He was supposed to visit. Never ended up visiting.
he never visited
Yeah,
it. So I would have liked to have one more tight end, but that I feel like is like just the tension we have and the volume of guys with high upside we brought in. Like it has to be like an A- for me. I'm leaning towards.
yeah. So overall portal grade A- for you.
Yeah.
Any mistakes you think we made? Like if you could go, if you think, okay, so part of you're not going to not make mistakes, right? It's that okay, if you made a
Yeah.
mistake, can you actually learn from it so you do better next time, or you don't repeat? So you think if Summerall could go back, do you think there's anything he would do different?
I think it's tough to evaluate because a lot of the additions it comes down to, are they worth the money we're going to give
Yeah,
them? Like Elijah Owens is a fun guy to watch, but if we paid him $500,000, like that's a horrible
yeah.
mistake,
We actually have no idea.
And so
Yeah,
it's hard to evaluate these
yeah,
guys because like if we got him for 50 grand, like yeah,
yeah,
sure, let him sit there on the bench, he might be good. But I think as far as retention, I don't think we really made many mistakes. I agree with you. We should have tried to keep Boyer a little more. It would have been nice to have one more guy on that D line,
yeah.
but
Well,
yeah,
I'll word it
it's
this
so
way. Okay, rumor is Burrow wanted a million, and let's just assume Singleton got 600, 600K. Right, I may be off. Let's just say Burrow was a million, or Singleton was 600. Would you rather have Singleton and another $400,000 player, or would you rather have Burrow on the team right now?
100% Singleton. I don't think Burrow's worth anywhere near $1 million. Yeah.
Well, I
I
actually
mean, he's a
disagree. Yeah, I disagree.
You would rather have $1 million Boy Rowe and no Eric
Yeah.
Singleton.
So Boy Rose very so okay. This guy was actually a contributor his true freshman year, and then last year, right? I think we can agree he improved a little bit over his true
Hmm.
freshman year. He actually had some flashes, right? Like not even just that pick against Mississippi State, but he actually has some flashes. This is a player that going into his like third year, uh, with some of his physical abilities, and that he's been fairly productive actually since his freshman year. Uh, if I was another team, and I think he ended up going to Ole Miss, right? If I was another team and I saw a player like this, I would actually get very excited, right? Uh, I think he's a player that if you told me after next year is over, he was actually maybe a top 15 like nose tackle in the country, I wouldn't be that surprised, right? It's just the profile kind of
Hmm.
lines up. He's been productive. He showed signs where he's a little bit more athletic than like I think people were even expecting, and he's going into his junior year. So maybe. And the other thing is, uh, I think D line, especially like inside of the D line, is a bigger area of need than wide receiver, right? So Singleton's
Hmm.
just more exciting. He's just more exciting, right? But having Boy Rowe there, and so now you have Boyro, so who's at least solid, right? Maybe even like a budding star, like low level star, not like a superstar,
Potential, yeah.
right? You have McLeod, who I think is probably the highest interior D lineman, highest upside interior D lineman we have. I think he out of the ones we have, he probably has the highest chance to be actually become a star player. Mbachu's next, right? Like Machu's really raw, but he was also like getting some time. If he puts it together, I don't even know who has a higher. Mbachu probably has a higher upside than McLeod, but McLeod is just very, very active. That activity level, along with like his physical traits. So you have those two. You have Boyro. You have Jamari Lyons, right? That Oya Badejo can move in. Um,
Hmm.
I already said
There's
Jamari
talks of
Lyons. Yeah,
McCray coming in.
yeah. Maybe McCray can move in. We signed another guy today. Like if you have Boyro, like you feel a lot more comfortable not only with the depth but also just like with the starting lineup and like the top 4 or 5 players you have. Whereas like if you
Yeah.
didn't have Singleton, right, my boy Bailey Stockton could get more time, right? You could 10-5 for Jalen Lloyd, maybe he gets some time at receiver. Micah Mays was very productive, right? Your boy, you really
Hmm.
like Grossi, maybe Grossi will
Yeah.
get some time on the field. I just feel like Singleton's more exciting. He's a bigger name. It's way sexier, right? Like it's way sexier to pull Eric Singleton from Auburn than to keep Leroux. But if it's every single 10 and then 400 grand that we spend on someone else, like we maybe don't spend to keep Boyle, I think I'll actually do that. It's not sexy. I think it's a just an overall probably a better football move.
I'll counter that, I think,
Yeah,
because you kind of in your answer exposed to me why we don't need to spend $1 million to keep him. Right? We have Jamari Lyons,
yeah,
we have Mbachu, we have McLeod, and I think Gerald Chapman, is that his first name?
yeah,
D line coach. I think he's probably one of the best D line coaches in the country, and I
yeah,
think with all the physical abilities that we saw that all of those players had,
yeah,
including you know,
mm,
now I'm all mixed up, Boy Rowe. Clearly, I think he was the best, but I do believe that in a whole offseason, there's no reason that those guys can't fill the production he had. And I don't think
yeah,
I know it's hard to know because the market is so private. Like we don't
yeah,
know how much people are spending,
yeah.
but $1 million for an interior defensive lineman that wasn't even taking starter reps last year. I mean, it was Caleb Banks last year.
No. Caleb Banks played in 2 games. He played half a
Well,
game,
true,
played like
but
half the snaps against Miami. Yeah.
as far as like resource allocation, right? Like
Okay. Okay.
we're
Yeah. Yeah.
paying Caleb Banks
Yeah.
DT1 money, and I don't
He was
think
getting a lot of money. Yeah.
he was getting a lot of money,
Yeah.
and I don't think that we should spend. I don't. Again, it's so tough because we don't know the value of these players. Like we don't know how much we're playing. We're
Yeah.
paying for Joseph McLeod or wow Joseph for McLeod or it's so tough to see. But if 600K is truly how much we paid Eric Singleton, I think that's a better payoff. You can go get a couple of your what do you call them, studs or
Stars and scrubs.
What's the stars and scrubs? You can go get a lot of scrubs with $400,000, and I think
No,
Anderson Singleton is for
high
sure a
upside,
star.
high upside, high upside players that could break out. I think it's way easier
Yeah,
to find a high upside wide receiver that could break out than like an interior defensive lineman that could
that's
be
true.
like
I'll give you
productive.
that.
Right. So let's just say right now our top four interior is Mabachu, uh, McLeod, Jamari Lyons, and then Brendan Bett. Right. I'm comfortable with those four.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think first of all four you can make a case, can take a step forward and actually be a maybe not like a superstar player, can actually turn into a star player next year. Jamari Lyons was very explosive for his size before he got hurt. He was kind of coming on, right? So another year
Mhm.
removed from the injury, I could see it. Brendan Bett is kind of like a McLeod light to me, but he also showed like some very good traits. He's bigger. Brendan Bett's bigger. I think he's bigger.
Mhm.
Actually, I know he's bigger.
He's
So
like slightly bigger, I think.
he's bigger, and then a little bit less like just active, and then if Mabachu and McLeod were just a little bit bigger or a little bit stronger, and then just take another step forward, like those two have the highest upside. I'm happy with those four.
Mhm.
The problem is, what if one of those four goes down? Right now,
We
you're
still have
talking about
three.
Kalu, you're talking about Mason Clinton, you're talking about I mean, who else is on the team? It starts
I mean,
getting it starts
it's
getting
getting
like
thin real fast.
right, and these players can't like a linebacker can theoretically play almost all the snaps, right? A interior defensive lineman just can't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
But
I
I
guess
don't
we'll
think we
see. Yeah.
should burn $1 million just to have one more dude on the depth chart.
So Singleton and the 400 grand of whatever we spent on, or Burrow at 1 mil, you would have Singleton. I think
I think so. I
I think we're
think
gonna have to agree to disagree. Okay.
we disagree.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I
Okay.
guess we'll see if we're right.
Yeah.
If the defensive line
Okay.
sucks, then I'll tell
Okay.
you right. You know.
So let me go over. I think we got sidetracked a little bit, right? But that's actually a good conversation. So overall portal grade, retention, I will give it an A. Okay. If we kept
Mhm.
Boyro, I would give it an A plus. There is no other player where I felt really strongly like, let's just say like above an 80% confidence level, where I'm like, I feel like it's most likely just better if we just kept this player than whatever money we spent on him, right? We got the top five we
Mhm.
already talked about. We kept Javari Flowers. We kept Ben Hanks. We kept Mbachu. We kept LJ. We kept McLeod. We kept Bet. Uh, it just like even Amir Jackson, he's high upside, and it's just I look at the guys we picked up, right? Like I said, Dupre is like maybe like a fan favorite or whatever, right? But if you want to talk about the highest upside player in that room, it's still Amir Jackson, and we kept him, and he
Mhm.
probably wasn't that expensive because if he was, he probably would have went somewhere else, right? Like we just don't,
Yeah.
we probably just didn't have that money. So, and the reason why I give it an A is because if you look at and we'll go over this on the next page, if you look at say like Auburn, I think they lost 36 players. LSU lost 30 something, and much higher rated players than us. For a new coach coming in, Kalen DeBoer, when he first got to Alabama, right, he lost
Everybody.
like a lot of people, right? He lost what's that safety that went to Ohio State?
Caleb Downs.
Yeah, Caleb Downs, amazing player, right? Like even Alabama was losing like they're probably like number one player that they would want to keep to Ohio State, right? And we literally kept everyone, not just the top five, but even that next tier, maybe even the third tier. And Boyro is either in the second tier or third tier of like players I want to keep. That's the only one, right? Gates hurt a lot, right? He had half a good season where we're basing like our affinity for him off of, but he completely missed. Actually, no, he missed like the last few games of that year too. He tore his ACL. Like he's been hurt every year he's been here.
Yeah.
Trey's been hurt
Yeah.
every year he's been here. Mazel's been hurt every year he's been here. There's just no player where they have production, they have upside, and they actually are primed for breaking out. And I feel pretty confident like that's going to happen, that we actually lost. Besides maybe Boyro, right? For a new staff coming in off of 4-8 Billy, that's amazing, right? Now, if this was next year, let's just say we won 9 games and we were flirting with the playoffs, we didn't make it, we kept that, the portal, that wouldn't be as amazing. But Summerall, for the little time he had with the players, the uncertainty around the program, a brand new coaching staff, and then relative to the other new coaches, how they did in retaining the players they want, right? No other team with a new coach retained the players that they want as well as we did. I have to give it an A. Okay. If they kept Luro, I would do an A plus. Maybe you don't feel that way, right? Depends on the money, I guess, right? But it's A plus, splitting hairs. When it comes to the portal, I like it, but I can't give it more than a B plus right now. Not that it can't actually end up being an A. The strategy we took, kind of like we talked about earlier, besides Singleton, there's no like surefire starter, in my opinion. Even if I think some are maybe more surefire than others, like Philo, like Egan Boyer I talked about, right, or Harrison Moore at center or guard. Right, they're probably going to be a starter, but there's no like surefire like star player that we took. But we took a lot of players that are intriguing enough of upside that you made the floor of the room very, very high. Because let's just say you took 3 safeties, right? You just need one of them to hit. And then the other 2, if they were just kind of like where they were before, like let's say one hits, one kind of stays how they were before, and one was a complete whiff. That was still pretty good, right? So instead of spending a lot of money on one player, you actually divvy that player money amongst 3 players. I think it's, if you don't have a surefire player, that's the next best way to go about it. We actually did a really good job at every single position of doing that. There's no position right now where we go into the season, I'm like, there's either A, not enough talent, or B, if we do have talent, it's at a true freshman position. We don't have anything like that, right? Last year, going into the season, you have Jordan Castell, and if it's not Jordan Castell, it's either Drake Stubbs or Laganza. True freshman. Like,
or Alfonso.
Well, he wasn't even on our radar. But like, what are we doing? Like if I know this going in, I'm like, okay, we either have a player that he actually has talent, but he just hasn't really proven anything. And then we have to rely on a true freshman, and we're not doing anything besides like Michael Caraway to maybe be our backup safety. It's an awful strategy. Right now, if you go in, okay, it could be Coleman, it could be Cam Dooley, it could be our boy Elijah Owens, right? I don't know. Maybe Kanye Clark. Did he play some safety? I can't remember now. There's so many of these guys we took, right? Like one of them, like it's free for all. Perfect. Let's open the competition up to 5 players. May the best man win, right? We just didn't have that before, and I can't tell you who's going to be the starter. I'm pretty confident whoever comes out on top, the floor is going to be pretty high. If I give you like a NCAA football analogy, I don't want any of my starters to be below like a 82 rating. I just don't want. I don't want to be below 82 rating, right? If they're like 82, it could do better, but like it's not a glaring weakness, right? Whereas before we just had these positions where like, dude, this guy's maybe like a 78 at best, and then if you get behind him, you have like a 78 true freshman, and he's only even rated that high because he's talented, but he's just not going to be ready. Like, what are we doing? So even though the portal additions, I give it a B plus, I think it's a very high floor, and you still have upside, right? Like some of these players can hit. Who knows? Maybe like this time next year, we're talking about Elijah Owens as a potential SEC player going into 2017 or something, right? I don't know, but the retention A, portal B plus, so I actually end up about where you are. I will give it like an A minus. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else to add to this before we go to the next and final topic?
I think you make a great analogy with the NCAA like overall system. Like we had some, and if you go look at the roster on NCAA 26, you can actually look and see where it was terrible. It's right there. And it's a great point. Like no matter. It's kind of like because I play that game a lot. So like when you get to the end of the season and you recruit all your high schools, you click a button and it goes through off-season training, and at the end of this menu, it shows you how many overalls all your players jumped. And so like when you go into that and you have 4 freshman DBs, you don't necessarily know which one's going to take the biggest jump. But you press that button, it loads, boom.
You're going to
this guy went up 12 overall.
You're like, to be.
All right, he's starting.
Yeah, in real life, you have to be bad at eval, bad at developing, which I don't know about the last half, but then also really unlucky to have like this many shots in the chamber and just completely whiff,
whiff on
right?
all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I don't need all of them to hit. I just need you to give yourself enough chances where like 2 out of the 4 hits, and then we'll actually be pretty good, right? And it's just like this.
Mhm.
It's almost like a like I don't know. It's like it's called strategy, Billy. You know, maybe you should think about it when you're building your roster and not doing whatever the hell you were doing
Yeah.
because there was just like like if you love tight ends, use that strategy on tight ends, right? If your most glaring hole is safety, use that strategy on safety. Like you're good at eval. Why didn't you actually lean into that in the portal last year? I don't
Yeah, the
understand.
portal class last year was interesting considering the
Yeah,
weaknesses that were so glaring.
I just don't
Yeah.
understand. All right, so breath of fresh air. I can't say there's any like glaring mistakes. Like even this argument with Boy Rowe, right? I wish they did it, but I don't know what he's asking. Maybe he's asking for 1.2. Maybe he has an attitude problem. Maybe he's like a very like me first player that doesn't fit the culture. I don't know, right? But like
Yeah.
the only thing I can even think of where like, oh, maybe you want to do over, maybe Boy Rowe, right? But I think it's pretty obvious if you look at how we went about this versus some of these other teams. I think there's a few teams, probably more than 5, less than 10, that just have more money than us, right? So
Mhm.
if we're probably in the top 10, probably the bottom part of the top 10, you have to start being a lot smarter with how you spend your money, right? Like you can't get into a pissing contest with these teams and start overbidding for players where like, okay, you went out, your fan base is happy, but then you're sacrificing like 2 other positions to get that PR win and to like feel good. Like it's not as
Yeah.
sexy, right? It's not as sexy, but I think this is just like a smarter way to go about it. So overall, I think like as a Gator fan, A minus, and that's only because we don't know who the starter is. Like I could literally
Yeah.
halfway through next season come back and be like, wow, this was like an A plus like portal class. Like I can actually see that, right? There, it's not like so far out of the realm of possibility where if you asked me, say for like last year, like with Billy's portal class, there's no chance that it's A plus. There's just no chance. There's not
Yeah.
upside. There's not enough intrigue. There's not enough like competition that you're creating at weak positions where like I can even get hyped about it. You know, I want to do it because I'm a positive guy.
I
I'm
can't
not.
even
Yeah, I don't want to be
but I
negative.
can't
Yeah,
think of a single guy that was portal in last season that made like a other than J. Michael Sturdivant, did we have
yeah.
Brendan Bett was a transfer too, but yeah, none of these guys that made like huge
See,
impacts on
Bet
the
I like.
season.
J Mike I like, right? Because like you can make a case. They got hurt for 1 year. They were late bloomer, but they have the profile, right? Like those two I like. But if you could do Brandon Bett and you could do J Mike, why did you do Michael Caraway as a like a DB slash
Mhm.
safety hybrid? Where like when you know what your clear weakness is, why right? Like I just don't understand. Like you could clearly do it at some positions, and they're just like these positions where 3 years, you know, like halfway through year 4, it's just always been a weakness, and you just don't you don't use your ability to
Yeah.
eval to recruit those positions. It's mind blowing, and I'm glad I don't have to like try to find the glass half full perspective on this anymore. I can just call it like it is. Whereas like for Summerall, he could miss, right? But it makes sense. What he's doing makes sense. I'm happy. I don't want to feel like I'm smarter than my coach. I don't feel like I'm smarter than my coach. And honestly, maybe the bar is low, a little low for
It's real
this,
low.
but it feels good to not feel like I'm smarter than my coach. That's all I'll say about that. Okay, so let's actually go on to this last one. I'll kind of present it. Okay, so I almost wonder if I should make this bigger because people can't see. Okay, I'm gonna read it though. Okay, so this is from On3. We're not big enough, so who cares if they come after us for copyright? We'll just take it down. But this is the On3 transfer portal ranking. All right, so the number on the left shows how many players were brought in. The number on the right shows how many players left. Then there's like a rating. I don't know how they're doing the rating system, like the 70 number, but basically the higher the better, the lower the worse it is, right? The 5-star, 4-star, 3 stars are the next 3 columns. Don't worry too much about it. NIL, I wouldn't worry too much about that. And then index score, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Okay. So the big thing is how many players come in, how many players go out, and then the overall ratings of the players coming in versus the overall ratings of the players going out. That's probably the ones you want to look at most. So let's read this. So at number 9, you have LSU, right? They brought in 37 players.
Jeez.
I think On3 isn't updated yet, because I literally pulled this at like 4 p.m. But it says we brought in 24 players for reference, right? So LSU brought in 37. The average players in was a 73.05 rating, and the average player out was 71.91, and they lost 32. So they brought in 37, they lost 32. In comparison, Florida brought in 24, lost 28, and then the
Yeah,
transfer
28.
out for us was 67.32. LSU was 71.91, right? So based on three's grading system, LSU just lost higher quality players out. They also brought in higher quality players in. Okay. Now, before we go any further, let me caveat this, okay? Because Kentucky took two of our safeties. So they took Jordan Castell and they took Aaron Gates. On3 has both of these players rated as an 87. And actually, Castell was a little bit above Gates, right? If you ask any Gator fan, who would you rather have?
Ridiculous.
Castell or Gates, right? If Gates is healthy, no brainer, we would take Gates, right? If Gates stays healthy, he could actually be a star. Castell, if he gets a new brain, he might be a star. I don't know. So just to put into well, if he gets, like a new toughness gene or something, right? Just to put into context, people could, like, these ratings are all over the place. It could be wrong. So I'm using it more as like a general guideline, but like once you start to get in, right, because the context of your team, and then like once you start seeing some of these numbers, like, okay, that's kind of appropriate, but there's just some that are like horrible misses. Like, so for example, I think like it was DJ Lagway, and then
Dylan Raiola are both ranked above
no.
Darian Mensah.
No. Players that we lost. Players that we lost.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
so number one was DJ. I think it's like 90 or 91. I can't remember who number 2 and 3 is, but according to
On3,
Trey might be 3, but our fourth highest rated player that we lost, according to On3, was Marcus Maskell. So an OT that's never played for us. I think he was maybe like a 4-star OT. He ended up going to some no-name. This is just insulting. He ended up going to some school that was not even G5, right? Like, so clearly, like
community. I saw that. Yeah.
Yes, clearly, no one else even really wanted him, right? But but in On3, he actually dinged us like the 4th most out of any of the players we lost. Okay, so all that is say, like, On3, it's cool they do this because there's something to go off of. But like once you for the players for the people that really follow their team, you're gonna start finding some like crazy stuff, right? So in general, it probably is, like a decent gauge, but also it could be really wrong. Okay. So let me go over LSU, Florida, Ohio State, and Auburn. Okay. So in here, LSU is ranked number 9, and essentially, from what I can gather, they kept most of the players, if not all of the players they want on defense, lost a lot of players on offense, especially at the offensive line position. And then I think there might have been like a receiver they wanted to keep too. Okay, but they kept that freak tight end they have, like Trey'Dez White. They did keep some players, right? Like they kept their center, who is probably going to start, but they lost a lot on offense. And they're essentially turning over almost the whole offense. And they kept a lot of the players that they wanted on defense, and they still brought in some more stars. Okay, so that's LSU. So for us, we pretty much kept almost everyone we want, besides maybe Boiro. And then we brought in a lot of players that I think can provide competition, that have upside, but no real star players like LSU, besides maybe Singleton. Okay. Ohio State is all the way down in 35th. They gained 16 players. They lost 31. And like 2 weeks ago, the Ohio State fans were in shambles. Okay. Like from the outside looking in, right? You're like, oh, Ohio State has all this money. They just play in this like conference that just has like 3 or 4 teams they have to compete with. They're recruiting themselves is very easy, right? But their fans were bitching about how they don't have money, right? So Ohio State lost 31 players. Their average rating for the players they lost was 71.64. Again, for reference, the average players we lost was 67.32. They didn't necessarily lose a lot of production, besides Mansour. I think that's how you pronounce his name, right? So LSU took this guy. I think it was a cornerback or safety from I think Virginia Tech. Ended up being like all American, and this is his little brother, right? So he was projected. He was a highly rated player, projected to be the starter for a safety for Ohio State this year. Got poached by LSU, and Ohio State fans were like pissed off. They lost a bunch of the high-rated players in their wide receiver room, right? Just like these, essentially just five-star players that were just behind a bunch of other five-star players. So
Yeah.
it looks really bad, right? But for the most part, besides maybe that Mansour guy, they kept their starters, the players they wanted to keep, and then they were able to bring in some high upside players, right? They took James Smith and like Quay Usal from Alabama, who were like both 5-star, were borderline 5-star players. Didn't have like too much production. It's also kind of weird because they were a package deal coming out of high school too. Their package deal going to Ohio State, right? So they brought in some players like that. I think they might have like pulled one more, but their transfer portal ranking is down at 35, right? So like worse than us, like yay us, but it's not counting in retention. And then Auburn is really interesting. They lost the most. They lost 36 players, even more than LSU. They brought in 32. The average players they lost is 73.31. Okay. Ohio State was at 71.64. Florida is at 67.32. And LSU is at 71.91. All right. So like the quality of the quality of the players they lost is actually higher than any of the other teams. And it's actually higher than almost every other team besides Ohio State as far as the players they brought in. So they just lost really good players into the portal. And then to supplement that, they essentially brought in a bunch of USF players and then some other players, but it's like a huge core of USF players. Okay, so they're ranked down in 64. It's very interesting to see what strategy pans out. I'll give you essentially the reason why I have these four is because LSU essentially kept their defense and added to it, rehauled their whole offense, right? But Lane is an offensive guru, so you almost kind of have to trust them to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Like back in the day, I had no doubt that whatever Will Muschamp was doing in recruiting, it was going to work out, right? But like he would take like 2 offensive linemen in a year, like take these like wide receivers that just don't hit, like they would get buzz in like the spring game, and it's never to be seen again. I couldn't trust anything that Muschamp was doing, right? I think from the outside looking in, you have to trust Lane on offense. And then they kept their defense. They have a good defense coordinator. They had a fun attacking style defense last year. They added to it. That's kind of LSU's portal strategy, their class, and how they're going to go in the season, right? I think their question mark to me is with that much turnover, how's the chemistry? And also with a lot of the grimy shit they're supposedly doing, right? Like taking freaking Hail Mary shots on like Ole Miss players in the last day of the portal. And then just with Lane at the helm, like I don't think anyone has loyalty to Lane. I think it's pretty fair to say that. I don't think any player like just like loves Lane Kiffin and will like keep a relationship with him, but like that's my coach. Like I just don't see that. You can see that with Summerall, or you can even see that with Billy, right? Even Urban Meyer, who has done some scummy things, I can see that. Like I can't see players like Lane Kiffin. It's so funny that Lane succeeded Brian Kelly, right? Like how many players
Just scumbag.
how many players
scumbag,
love
yeah.
Brian Kelly? It's like, oh yeah, like thank you, Brian Kelly, from back in his like Notre Dame or Cincinnati days, or like even like LSU, right? Besides his son. he's like free BK, right? So like that's one model. Okay, that's one model. We'll see how it works out. I think you have an offensive genius. You have a lot of money. You're taking all of these like short-term wins to acquire a lot of talent, probably sacrificing culture and fundamentals. And then let's see how it plays out. Okay, Florida, we pretty much kept everyone we want. I don't think we started out as talented as actually we probably did, because LSU had a lot of transfer portal players they took last year that just graduated. They just ran out of eligibility. Right.
Yeah.
So maybe we were like close to being as talented at LSU. We didn't lose nearly as much, but then we also didn't take in nearly as much. We didn't take in any like real star transfer portal players. Okay. So that's us. Ohio State pretty much kept everyone they wanted, besides maybe that safety, maybe one more, and then they supplemented with some like high upside players that don't necessarily have a lot of production. I think they might have taken one star player in the portal. I can't remember off the top of my head now. But for the most part, they went the route that I think works best is keep your core, like the players you want, and then just sparingly bring in players to fill in the weakness. And then you have the Auburn route, which is they got completely gutted, right? They got to keep a few, but they lost a lot of like star players, not only like high upside players, players with a lot of production on both sides, like Cam Coleman, right, or Singleton. Uh,
Mhm.
and then they essentially brought in a core that actually already has chemistry, upperclassmen players from USF. So you're already starting out with like a team with chemistry and something to build off of that's familiar with Alex Golish, and you're going to build from there, right? So you could say Auburn is kind of screwed, but that's also the Indiana model, right? What Auburn is doing, because the SIG brought over a bunch of players from JMU to start out, and it's really interesting to see what actually ends up happening. So
Yeah.
out of those four, any thoughts? Anything you prefer? What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely have some thoughts. I think the culture issue at LSU in the portal, I wonder how much of an issue that's really going to be for Lane. I don't think Lane has ever been a culture guy. He's been a he got the best offensive mind in the country at this point, and I think even at Ole Miss, right, he was portaling guys in and just scheming his way to success on the field. And so he might be one of the few guys that can actually get away with the portaling strategy, right? Like
Yeah.
Mike Norvell is a terrible play caller,
Yeah.
or not play caller, but like game day coach.
Yeah.
And so, when he portals in all these guys, it's like, well, you can't weasel your way out of it by just playing good football. So I wonder if that's going to bite LSU, or maybe, I honestly wouldn't be surprised at all if they were one of the best teams in the SEC, even though they didn't have that kind of cohesiveness.
Yeah.
With us, obviously, orange and blue glasses, I think we kind of did it the right way. And then I honestly, like with Ohio State, right? Like they were destined to get poached. They had a lot of talent on that roster, and I just don't think
Yeah.
in this day and age you
And
can
they
keep
were and
guys.
they weren't
Yeah,
playing. So like you have all this dead money
yeah,
essentially like with talent, but you weren't actually able to actualize it on the field for that year. So
yeah.
even though it looks really bad, out of the four, I mean, I would prefer to be in Ohio State's position, right? Like, yes, you
Then
lost a
our
lot
position,
than our position because they have way more stability, right? Like
true. Yeah,
they have the least amount of like turnover with like actual players, um, but then their starters, the players they're keeping, also were just like they're a playoff team, right? Like we're four
they're
and
good
eight.
players. Yeah,
We kept the players we want,
yeah.
but they're 4-8. They're 4-8. They haven't played winning football. So yeah. And then what about
Yeah, and I think
yeah,
I think I have yeah, Auburn is a tough one. They're the only
yeah,
team on out of the four we selected that has a higher grade on guys leaving than coming in. So
yeah,
based on three's rankings, they've gotten worse. And I was a big goalish fan in the
yeah,
in the cycle, so I'm kind of glad I didn't get what I wanted at that point, because I would be pretty pissed off if we lost 36 guys to the portal, core guys too, Deuce Knight,
yeah.
Cam Coleman, Erickson, like our big that was their big three, right? And boom,
Yeah, they
they're all
lost
gone.
like Amaris Williams, who was actually committed to us, and Jamonte Waller, I think. Well, maybe one of them saved, but they lost one of those two to Georgia, who has like great tape. Whichever one committed to Georgia, like both of them have like really 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 good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I really wanted them.
And I would be I think it's interesting because normally in a vacuum I would say you're an idiot to bring a bunch of USF players
Yeah,
into the SEC and expect success, but you're right, the SIG brought a bunch of JMU guys to
yeah,
Indiana and put belt to ass on the Big Ten in 2 years. So
yeah,
maybe that's a recipe for success. But I imagine if you'll notice, like I don't really put a lot of weight into these on three money numbers, right? Like they
yeah,
lost $4.7 million of valuation. Like what does that even mean? But you'll notice that over double their total value. Like we lost 1.7 million, which is about double. But I just, that's all DJ money. And so I wonder how much they were paying Deuce Knight if these numbers are accurate. But
yeah,
they are the by far the biggest loser in total NIL valuation and also overall player ratings. And I gotta wonder, Golish was kind of marketed as this like killer of, like this kind of high energy output coach. And it seems to me like he's maybe not that great at recruiting. I don't know, maybe there's more to that story, but
Yeah.
I'm certainly I'm certainly certain of one thing on this list. I don't know which of these strategies is really going to be the long-term success, but I know it's not Auburn.
You think so? So you think the Indiana SIG approach that Auburn's taking is not it?
I just don't know if you can sig in the SEC. I think the Big Ten benefits significantly from being top heavy,
Yeah.
and I think at Auburn, like you don't have a week where you get to play Northwestern.
Yeah. So I think what this list shows is, one, the rankings don't
They're
actually match.
bogus.
Yeah, because like I can make a case where like any one of these actually has like the best portal class based on like where they're at, right? But like people are gonna argue, oh, LSU's 9, Auburn's 64th. Like it was like a no
Hmm.
contest. But you're not talking about the roster retention, and then a lot of that context of like, okay, the continuity. Okay, you're bringing over a core group of players from this other school that was actually pretty good, and you're starting with that. Like, is that a better way, right? So this is this is why I think a lot of this portal stuff is fun to talk about, but it's such a crapshoot. And we talked about how
Yeah.
Castell was rated higher than Gates,
Hmm.
right? There's all kinds of
And
nonsense going
LSU
on.
fans, there's a
Yeah,
I can't remember which message board it was on,
yeah,
but they were like, "Oh, we stole
yeah,
Florida's, coaching candidate and safety," and all it was just a comment section full of Gator
yeah,
fans. Like, have
yeah,
you watched the
yeah,
tape?
yeah,
Like, we're
yeah,
glad you took him. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that was Kentucky, I think. Kentucky took him.
Or sorry, Kentucky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Kentucky took Gates and
No,
oh
it was when he was on a
yeah.
visit to LSU that
Yeah,
everyone
yeah,
was
yeah.
talking about. Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
take him. Please take him and start
Please,
him.
please.
Please. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think this. Okay. Without again, I could be completely wrong. Someone could pull this video up a year from now, right? I think with LSU strategy, it's definitely the splashiest, right? I think there's no one's
Hmm.
arguing. It's the splashiest, right? They seem like the big dicks swinging around. They have the most money to spend. They're just going around doing all kinds of stuff. I kind of make that Michael Corleone like mafia mentality almost. It almost is just
Yeah.
like we're gonna punk you and then we're just gonna do things like no matter what. Like screw the consequences. We'll acquire the talent. We'll figure it out. So I think it's the splashiest. I don't even think it has the highest upside. I think just like that kind of like culture, like it. The downside is very very high, right? Like if things don't go that
Hmm.
well, and maybe you have some like people pointing fingers in the locker room, you don't have a lot of stability. Like who's your leader on offense? Like who's your leader? They're all new, and like how are the characters of like some of these people that are expected to be leaders, right? Like you hear stories about Sam Levitt, like again, it could be sour grapes. Like, it's just I don't know. I think they're gonna have a lot of hype going into the season, but that much turnover on offense. Lane, I think Lane's an offensive genius, right? But there's definitely a lot of question marks. And then for the LSU fans, they're really comfortable with the interior offensive line, but then the tackle spot, especially the left tackle, they're not confident at all, right? Like, so you have a
Yeah.
left tackle, you're not confident. But then again, it's Lane, right? If he knows what he's doing, right, he would have prioritized. Just kind of like if there's some question marks for us with our defensive takes, I'm willing to be a lot more lenient to Summerall because he's a defensive guy, right? You trust him
Yeah.
to kind of know that side of the field more. So I don't know, but that's LSU. I think for us, I would I would prefer the route that we took compared to Auburn,
For
right?
sure.
Yeah, I think it might. I don't know. It might be a higher floor. It might be to take the SIG route, what Auburn did with USF, right? But I don't know. It's only been done once, essentially, with the SIG. It's not like this idea of taking like a James Madison or like a Sun Belt team and then transplanting it into a Big Ten or SEC has ever worked before, right? It's only really worked once with the SIG.
Hmm.
So is it because of SIG and then like just his ability to ID players, develop and coach, uh, was that good, or is that a winning strategy? I think it's way too early to tell. And
Yeah,
just
like we could look back
yeah,
on this and think, wow, Golish pulled a sig and actually made
yeah,
it work, but I don't know
yeah,
how many people on earth are capable of that.
yeah. And just from like a hype standpoint, it's just way easier to get hyped. Um, Not having a bunch of players from USF as opposed to like having
Yeah.
like SEC players pulling higher ranked players from other places. So I think hype wise, LSU's method, then Florida, then Auburn. Which one actually works better? I don't know. Uh, I do know
Yeah.
that I wouldn't mind having an awesome portal class like LSU, but I would not be comfortable doing some of the grimy stuff that they're reportedly doing to build a
Yeah.
roster because it I feel like it there's like a team chemistry found like cultural foundation aspect that a lot of people are overlooking, right? But again, it could be sour grapes.
And
Who
I
knows? Yeah,
also yeah, I wouldn't want to take in a class of 37
yeah,
guys from the portal too. I think that just speaks of your team that you already have
yeah,
on campus if you got to bring in almost 40 dudes. And I agree, it's definitely the splashiest and they have the money for it, but I wonder, yeah, like it just the chemistry, but I don't even know if chemistry is even a concept anymore. Because every team is portaling in at least 15 guys, right? And you
yeah.
expect those dudes to make contributions. I wonder if the age, like, I can't remember who, it was some interview with a guy that played for, I don't even remember, but I just remember they asked him, like, oh, what about these guys that are entering the portal but then coming back? And
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, we would have beat him up first day of practice, told him
yeah,
to get out of the locker room."
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and so it's like, but that I mean, we got Jaden Woods coming back. He was in the portal, and Amir
yeah,
Jackson, and those dudes are
yeah.
expected to be starting. So I wonder how different it is now.
I think you get a little bit more. You get a little bit more grace when it's like a brand new coaching staff. Um, now,
True,
if
true,
now
yeah.
if Jaden Woods uh, committed, right? Let's just say he didn't even sign anything. He committed. Then and then, oh, let's just say he does sign something, and then LSU comes over the top like 6 hours before the portal closes, and then he actually enters the portal again, and then we hold him to the contract, and so he can't get out of it, and then he comes back to the
And he
team.
has to say, yeah,
Then I think it will be really really hard to win back like trust
yeah.
and
How do you
all that.
trust that guy to
Yeah,
put an effort on
yeah,
every play? Yeah,
yeah. That's like like you can't trust someone you date that's like that, right? You can't trust someone as a business partner that does that. You're gonna trust, right? And so it's a team sport, and like you're gonna trust someone that does that on the team. It's just
not even
yeah,
that. You're gonna pay him.
yeah.
You're gonna pay him
You're
too
gonna
to
pay him,
play after he's expressed that
yeah,
he doesn't want to.
yeah.
Yeah,
After he pulls this nonsense, and then you're gonna pay him. Like it's yeah. I don't
it's
know.
disgusting,
All
but
right,
yeah.
really interesting. Any final thoughts or things that we didn't talk about you would like to add?
I know off-season practice started this week. We got mat
We did the
drills.
mat
I watched an
drills.
interview with
Yes, let's
we're
go.
doing mat drills,
Yeah,
and I think, I mean, obviously, both of us have kind of like a fitness background, and
yeah,
there's something about um, I didn't play a lot of team sports growing up, so I don't have like a good insight of this, but there's something about just all out effort, and I
yeah,
think going to a place of all out effort when it's literally you and another dude on the ground
yeah,
and it's just about getting across the mat. I think that you learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about your teammates when you
yeah,
when you have to literally go to battle. And
yeah,
I think there's a reason high school coaches make their kids wrestle, right? It makes you a better tackler, but it
yeah,
makes you also learn a lot of lessons about,
yeah,
I think, I don't want to say battle because it's just football, but
yeah.
about literally trying to hit someone as hard as you
Yeah.
can.
And I also believe it. I also actually believe the team is going to be physical, right? Don't we don't dick around. We actually move fast in the portal. We hired this like crazy special forces
Yeah.
sergeant,
Strength
right, to
coach,
be a
yeah.
strength coach. Summerall has an energy. Like everything is like everything kind of lines up. It's consistent. This team is going to be physical, right? I don't know if it's going to win. Like we just don't know until it's good. Like we think it will, but at least there's enough like consistency there. It's like okay, they're going to be physical. Look, Billy,
Yeah.
you take your sweet ass time in the portal. You ask people to submit like an audition tape or something. You're kind of low energy in the interviews. You give like whatever answers. Who was our strength? I can't remember our strength coach that he brought over from Louisiana
Before
Monroe.
everybody.
Mark Hockey. Hawk. Hockey.
something
Yeah, and
hawk or
like
yeah,
there
yeah.
the reports were like that, like just players and even boosters who were just not impressed with the guy, and he just wanted to do stretching or something for a lot of it. Which like, who knows? Maybe he was trying to do like some functional movements, and like he was a shitty
Uh,
communicator. I don't know, but nothing about it made you feel like you were gonna have a physical team, right? And then like,
and then we hired the dude
yeah,
from Boston College, and he got poached,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But from like the players are bringing in, like just like how they pop on tape, they might not be great at covering. I mean, I'm not saying they're not, but almost every one of them hit hard and are physical,
yeah,
right? So yeah,
and that starts from the top down. Like Johnny played linebacker, right? So he knows how
yeah,
to hit somebody.
yeah,
He's aggressive. And I think that messaging, yeah, like obviously the players have to learn to hit, but
yeah,
when you're from the top down in an
yeah,
organization and everyone is aggressive and fierce,
yeah.
I think that's gonna speak volumes on the field. And I'm excited because if we're doing mat drills, we're back, baby. Swamp Kings too, you know?
All
Like
right, Swampkins too. All right, I think that'll be it for the podcast.